Hello, and welcome back to Method News, where we talk about science-based manifestation methods and concepts. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're into this topic. Let's get started. Today, we're talking about why personal accountability matters in manifestation, why it helps power your intentions, and the benefits of prioritizing your accountability, your responsibility. Well, to start with, it starts with self-acceptance, accepting that you are a human being. You are an automated biological survival system. You have limitations on your time, your energy, your focus, and how much control you have over situations or even yourself. We are highly, highly automated, but we do have the power to change our programs, to change our presets, to change our mental stories and adapt to our environment. We're highly adaptable beings. And just accept too that, what is within your control to fix is what your responsibility is. Other people and their actions, their feelings, they're not your responsibility. Now, if you did something to them and you know that deliberately, or you did something that, maybe harmed their property, be careful when people say, when they try to make you responsible for their feelings, because self-regulation gets outsourced a lot these days. Self-esteem gets outsourced a lot these days. Self-validation. We're constantly outsourcing these things that are intrinsically already ours. And when people do that, you just have to be cautious that did you act in accordance with your values and they got upset about it? Did you set a boundary and they got mad? That's for them to deal with. That's for them to process within themselves. You still hold your boundaries, right? So being accountable is not being indebted to other people for their emotional dysregulation or their emotional triggers. That is not what accountability is. Accountability is making sure that you are following your values, your priorities, your moral compass, and prioritizing your progress in everything that you do. What you're doing is important. Who you are is important to this greater story of humanity. And you don't have to do or be anything particular. Just be you, be here, be present with yourself, be constantly building yourself and improving your experience, because that's going to raise the collective vibration just in and of itself. But sometimes that takes a little work to figure out exactly what it is. And this is part of being accountable to your needs, to optimizing yourself, to committing to the best possible experience that you can have. And, if you want to, helping to create the best possible experience for other people, you know, it doesn't mean that you are responsible for their enjoyment of life, but you could, create information, you could share skills, you could share your stories, share your experiences. You want to be an ear, but not an interferer. You don't want to interfere. You want to hear people, but don't interfere with them. Let them do their DMV life test, because your life is a DMV test. It's like your driver's test. And sometimes people got to do it over and over and over again, depending on what it is. Maybe they just can't figure out those signs. Maybe that kangaroo sign has them completely fooled, and they decide that that's a good test choice because it seems right at the time, right? But that doesn't mean just because you know the kangaroo is the wrong answer that you get up and go across the room and leave your own test behind and go start scribbling on their paper. No, that is for them to deal with. You are meant to deal with yours. That is your accountability to your story, to yourself, to your needs, and to optimizing your life. Now, just you doing that, just you setting the example of doing these things and doing the work and doing the hard things to stay focused and not interfere with other people's boundaries, it takes a lot of work because our brains are like automatically like, let me go fix it, in a lot of cases, not all the time, but often. We're like immediately want to take action to correct what we perceive. Perception is key here. What we perceive to be the incorrect option. We don't know that for them. We're not in their story. We don't even really know that for us. We're guessing. So slow down on the externalizing and reinforce the internalizing, the validations, right? Because we do want to confirm to ourselves our values and priorities. So when you see that and you notice that trigger in yourself, don't be mad at the trigger. The trigger is there as a survival feature. right? It's telling you, oh, this person might not be acting in alignment with the social system and the whole thing could collapse, but it won't. I promise you. It's okay for other people to be completely different than you, have completely different values, completely different morals, completely different etiquettes. It's fine. It's okay as long as you're, protecting yourself and your boundaries and your safety and your sense of connection with yourself and not getting lost in whatever they're doing. You stay on your own test and measure your personal success on how well you've optimized, how far have you come forward. If you're going to raise the bar on something, this is something that we do naturally. Once we achieve a goal, a lot of the time we won't even focus in on enjoying that success of having the thing that we wanted, but we're on to the next goal immediately. And it's really important to stay present and notice everything that you've already accomplished, everything that you've already become, everything that has already developed and manifested for you as often as you possibly can. And that's a form of accountability to your reality, to notice your reality, to notice your experience, to be present and available to live your life. And it'll help you be less automated, more in control of your story, more in control of your experience, have more say in how your code operates, right? Because we're highly automated beings, trust me. This is all neuroscience here. We are extremely automated unless we are being in observer state and being focused and aware and noticing our programs and choosing and pivoting and pausing, right? Pausing and seeing interrupts the old program, which means it has to write a new one. And this gives you an opportunity to say, okay, this is my values. This is my morals. This is where my focus is. So put that into my filter, unconscious me. And it does, it listens. Your unconscious can hear you just fine. It understands simplicity at best. It'll probably pick out certain words, but it can hear you. And if you are clear that this is your goal and you stay on that and you are consistent across your stories, then you're going to manifest that. It's going to come into your reality. It'll come into your filters and you'll notice it. So I hope this has helped you understand a little bit more about accountability, what it is, what it isn't in manifestation, how to focus on your own accountability to the reality matrix, to your own reality, and not interfere with others. And it's to your greater benefit not to interfere. You're wasting energy on your story, which is important. Your node, your chapter of this human race is important. Don't miss it. They need to focus on theirs. You need to focus on yours. Sometimes you meet up and your planets exchange information. This is how I see other people when it comes to accountability. They are a planet that I can never visit the surface of. I can only ever see the outside. I am a planet they can never visit. We have to figure out if we have common goals, common values, if we're safe for each other, right? And a lot of the time, I know that my brain will not, a lot of the time, all of the time, my brain will use presets to decide whether or not this person is aligned or coherent with my system, right? Whether or not they're compatible. And so when I notice that I'm making judgments, I can say, okay, what's the evidence? What's the evidence for my accountability here, for my responsibility, for my restitution for any kind of situation? This planet might say that I have, or what do I feel is correct for my story? What's following my values, right? Now, it's important to remember too that whatever you put out, you get back, because we are interactive beings. So if you're putting out a lot of trying to make other people be accountable, they're going to see you as like a pushy, controlling bully. Really, they're not going to be happy with that. But if you approach them in an idea of co-creation, in hey, maybe we could work together on this because I'm struggling with something. And maybe if you are struggling with something similar, maybe we could work together on a common accountability, right? So you don't force, you sort of collaborate. That's what it is. You collaborate with each other on different types of group accountability. Just don't lose sight of your boundaries, of what is your responsibility and what is other people's responsibility. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and sign up for the Method Muse newsletter in the description below.